because right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you have been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the show. We deal with current events and history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also go to our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and sign up for our email newsletter there as well. Okay? All right. So, and we're broadcasting on Facebook Live also, Facebook fan page. So check that out as well on Facebook also. Okay. All right. Very quickly before we bring Dr. Anderson on, I want to let you know that I'm doing a presentation this Thursday at the Jungle Juice Bar. Thursday at the Jungle Juice Bar, 14929 Charlevoix Street in Grosse Pointe Park, Michigan, right across the street from Detroit. Should African Americans celebrate Black History Month, exposing the myths? Should African Americans celebrate Black History Month, exposing the myths? We have it available at our website. The information is at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And I will be with Jewel Tankard tomorrow night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're going to talk about that in the second hour. Okay, but on the line, we have Dr. Claud Anderson, one of my teachers. Hello, Dr. Anderson. I call him the president of Black America. How you doing today, brother? Dr. Anderson, you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. What happened to you?
What do you mean what happened to me? I'm here.
No, we haven't been able to hear anything for the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They had you on hold. I don't know. So I'm not sure what happened with that. I'm sorry about that, Dr. Anderson. Not sure. So you didn't hear the eloquent, you didn't hear the praises that I had of you. Okay.
Nope. See, I'm going to go through withdrawal pains because of that now, because I missed something special.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I call you the president of Black America. So,
oh, Lord.
So when I call your wife, I say I'm calling and talk to Dr. Claud Anderson, the president of Black America, at the White Castle House.
Boy, you're gonna make all the conservatives and the liberals in this country mad when you say that.
Oh, well, personally, man, go ahead.
They want Steve Harvey.
Well, yeah, Steve Harvey and Jim Brown and Martin Luther King III, things like that, man. So
yeah, and Kanye West.
Kanye West, yeah, okay,
yeah. Usher and all of them.
Well, the black conservatives, man, I have very low opinions of most of them. Not all of them, but majority of them I have very low opinions. Dr. Anderson, last year, at the beginning of the year, I had you on my show, and we talked about what black people should do in 2016 to empower ourselves. And in the era of Donald Trump, it's the end of January. I want to talk to you specifically two main things. What should black people do in 2017 to empower ourselves in the era of Donald Trump? One, and then two, we're going to get into conversation about the update on the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866 as well. Okay, so it's 2017. We know we've September 2015 Census Bureau report came out. We've seen pockets of progress in certain areas, but we've also seen black people, African Americans, losing $1 trillion worth of wealth because of the downturn in 2007, and over the last few years, losing $1 trillion, about 53% of our wealth. So, what should we be doing in 2017 and the future to empower ourselves economically? Can you hear me, Dr. Anderson?
No, go ahead again. I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. What should we be doing in 2017 to empower ourselves economically and for the future? We lost over $1 trillion worth of our wealth because of the downturn in the housing industry starting in late 2007, et cetera. So what should we be focusing on now?
To be perfectly honest with you, Michael, that's what I wrote all my book for.
Mm-hmm.
I guess over the last 27 years, telling black folk exactly what to do in the state of their dilemma and the social construct they were locked into. And I've been pushing that since 1960s. But unfortunately, our people are hard-headed. They don't listen, even when you tell them what to do, and they don't read even when they buy the books. But everything you could possibly be concerned about is contained in those books, Black Labor, White Wealth, that lays out everything that whites have done over the last for 400 or 500 years to socially engineer you into the lowest level of a real-life monopoly game that you cannot win under the present social construct. 2, Powernomics shows you how to beat that social construct. It picks up where black labor, white wealth left off. Now, for this coming year, and then plus we got 2 books, Black Labor, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2, that tells you why you're a special people.
Right.
Now, based on all of that, what I've done this year is set up another national plan for black folk. I guess I'm the only person that's written the 3 major plans for black folk in America, but they still haven't abided by them. The first, I have the dubious honor of being the person that wrote the first darn affirmative action plan in the United States, comprehensive plan. I wrote it for the state of Florida in 1970. That was approved by the state cabinet, by the governor, and the attorney general, and everyone else. And I didn't write that plan for women, for gays, and humpbacks, and midgets, and people with hemorrhoids. I wrote it for black folk.
Exactly.
And they haven't picked up and done anything with it. They still talking about otherness, other
right.
people. And so they haven't followed that. Then I wrote the plan, the national plan called Powernomics, to tell them what to do. Comprehensive. Then I wrote a special plan for the city of Detroit. And then all of a sudden, to show them how to build a black business district. Not African Town. That was not my project. African Town was, Councilwoman Joanne Watson's project. Mine was business district off of Livernois.
Right.
Where I had something like about 40 acres of land to show them how to build. And I had 1,000 black folk from across America come to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Come to Detroit and pledge and say, and 16 of them were willing to and pledged to relocate their factories from around this nation into the city of Detroit, into that business district. I had about another 23 companies that said they would put their retail industries there. It would have employed thousands of people, black folk. And guess what?
What?
The black folk in Detroit said nothing while the 2 or 3 Sambos on the city council
mm-hmm.
and came out and said, well, Dr. Evans, we're going to have Arabs and Asians, Hispanics come down here and contest what you're trying to do for blacks in the city of Detroit, because that'll be racist for you to build something strictly for black folk and not include everybody. We admit that in the city of Detroit, it's a 92% black city, and you got an Asian town, a Mexican town, a Cork town, Pole town, a Hockey town, Chinatown, and a Greek town, but it'd be racist for you to do something strictly for black folk. And by and large, all the leadership, basic leadership in the city, with the exception of people like Joanne Watson and Kwame Kilpatrick and
Kwame Kenyatta on city council.
Not Kilpatrick.
Yeah, no, not Kilpatrick, because he helped block it, right? Kwame Kilpatrick helped block the project. Is that correct?
Yeah. See, Kwame Kilpatrick blocked it,
mm-hmm.
but Kwame Kenyatta was a supporter with Joanne Watson
right.
and Rose Collins and a few. And it was 4 of them trying to support it. Mm-hmm. But all the Ankatana and Sambo people went along saying, we got to take care of the Mexicans and the Arabs and the Asians,
right.
and
take care of everybody else.
Everybody but them.
Right. We're going to come back to Kwame in just a minute. But just to give people a reference, read the article, For the Love of Detroit, Reject Racist African Town. For the Love of Detroit, Reject Racist African Town. This was written by Kay Everett, city councilwoman at the time, September 30th. This was back in 2004. This is from AmericanRenaissance.com, AMREN.com. It was picked up from the Detroit Free Press because she wrote this article for the Detroit Free Press, okay, mm-hmm. coming out in opposition of this project that Dr. Claud Anderson was commissioned by the city council of Detroit to put together this plan to benefit African Americans economically, and you had Negroes on city council who blocked it, and your former mayor also. Go ahead, Dr. Anderson.
Right. But keep in mind that African Town was not my project. That was Joanne Watson's project.
Okay.
My project was a black business district that was over on the west side, off of Livernois and south of Grand River and running down. I can't think of the cross street.
Right. What was the name of your project?
It was called a black business district. Period.
Black business district. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't have any name to it. It was just a black business district where I had tied up all the property and I had a commitment to get the land at a reasonable cost, buying it from the city.
Okay.
But after that, they kept jacking up the price. Initially, I was going to pay something like, I'm not sure what it was per lot for the housing and stuff, the old buildings.
Right.
Then they raised it to $200,000 and $300,000 and went to $500,000. I told them to keep it. Hell, I don't have to do anything for Detroit. I don't live there. Right. I reached the point now. The black folk in Detroit, that's stupid. To let Uncle Toms and Sambos on the city council sell them out, they need whatever punishment that's coming to them. They deserve it.
Right.
And they got it. And I told them this. I said, now, if you don't build your own business district, I said, you're going to go bankrupt and you're going to be out of business within 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. I said, because right now you got the possibility of running about $11 billion a year through your hands in this city through a combination of operational funds, university funds, and blacks' disposable income running through your hands. Yeah, all you got to do is practice group economics and make it bounce 8 to 10 times. You would have over $100 billion to support this town, but you're dumping all your money into the suburbs. The white community got mad. So, well, Dr. Evans, you should be told them don't spend the money with us. Why shouldn't I? You don't spend any money with black folk. You don't see any whites in this country coming into a black store in a black neighborhood going buying products made by black folk. They're boycotting you. They've been boycotting you for 400 years. But black folk can't get it through their heads. So my mother used to say, sometimes you deserve a butt whipping to wake you up.
What's taking place right now with gentrification going on heavily in Detroit? So let me ask you this question. In the plan that you were involved in, because I know 100-page paper giving an overview in the research. I have a copy of it at home. Is that was for your project? Is that correct?
Yeah. But what happened? Everything I wanted to do. Guess what? When they turned it down, now whites have been coming out of the womb. Everything I put in that plan. Guess what? Whites have been doing it in Detroit and getting credit for it. Like they're gonna do urban farming, or building a seafood factory, or doing aquaponics, and revitalizing the waterfront. And everything. As a matter of fact, after 26 things they're going to do in terms of what you just mentioned, gentrification. Right. And I told them that they used to call it the Gang of Nine around Detroit. They was controlling everything in Detroit, including the Durham mayor's office. And what they want to do, it's called, first thing they do is called privatization. Mm-hmm. You're going to take everything in Detroit that had any value, and you're going to privatize it into the hands of whites in the suburbs, so they can come back in and take over everything from you.
You mean like the water system? You mean like the water system, Dr. Anderson?
Yes, all that. I named 25 things they're going to take from those people in Detroit. One was the water system, the sewer system, the waterfront, Belle Isle, the Cobo Hall, Joe Louis Arena, the city airport. I can go on down the line. The golf course, the zoo. I can name everything they'll take from you. Mm-hmm. They're going to take everything from the tunnel to Detroit on down the line, then all the riverfront, then all down Woodward and all the land. But they didn't listen to me. They're so in love, they want to be liked, that they said, we'll be glad to take a butt whip as long as they like us. And so now now Detroit is locked in box. They're back to where they were in about 1910. They're back when they couldn't even get across Woodward Avenue. They're locked in box. They will not ever have a chance, not in the next 100 years, of getting out of it.
Now, Dr. Anderson, explain how former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick helped to block your project here in Detroit.
Well, one thing is people would not. The property I was trying to tie up initially was out on the waterfront. Okay. There's land down there near the old Wayne. What was it called? Fort Wayne. It's called Fort Wayne or something like that. Down off the water. Okay. I wanted the waterfront property. They had an old copper plant down there. There used to be an old copper plant down in that area. And I was going to develop that right on the water, because the water was key. That was a key aspect of any kind of empowerment for black folk. But they didn't want me to take that. They forced me and gave me, said, well, we'll send you over towards Livernois, and turn around, because I think some white person said they might want to have that property at some point in time, and they want to take over the whole riverfront. But see, at one time when I was talking to your previous what was it, mayor you had?
Dave Bing or Archer?
No, before those came in. You just mentioned somebody, the worst thing ever happened.
You talking about Mayor Young?
Mayor Young. See, Mayor Young, when I was at Mayor Young, and I was down there talking with him, mm-hmm. I went and checked your records. And what happened at that time, see, about 38% of all the property in Detroit was on the waterfront. 38% of it was property that was not active. It was on the tax roll, and I wanted black folks to pick up a lot of property on the waterfront. Right. 38% of it was on the tax roll. And most of those buildings downtown, most of those whites had abandoned it back in the late 1950s and 60s. They hadn't been paying taxes on all those years. I wanted to put all that property in the hands of black folk, so people could not come in and take it out. And what they did then is that Kilpatrick people played all kind of little games. They played games of trying to get along with the white power structure called the Gang of Nine. Mm-hmm. The Gang of Nine was individuals, whites, who were controlling the city from outside the city through things like the Renaissance Group, the New Detroit, the Detroit Free Press, the Detroit News, Channel 4, and all this. They were controlling the city and manipulating your Durham mayor.
Absolutely.
And some of the people sitting on the city council, and what they were saying with Dr. Anderson, you can get what you want in the city if you play ball with us and talk to the right people. I said, I don't do that. I don't do this underhanded stuff to go to jail.
Right.
And so I said, what's going to happen to all you people, including K. Everett, you're going to wind up going to jail, you're going to prison, or you're going to die for it.
Right. Right, exactly. All right, so that now we're looking at a situation where we went from controlling 2.6% of the wealth, Black Americans, 2.6% of the wealth, down to 1.2% of the wealth. We lost over about 53% of our wealth in the last few years. We've seen pockets of progress in certain areas. We know that you have who non-elderly Black Americans who now have health insurance who didn't have it before, and that's a good thing. But what should we be focusing on? What are some tips that you can give us to focus on wealth creation, economic empowerment in the era of Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, I say I've never believed those figures at all.
Okay.
Black folk, in my estimation, in my research, has never gained over more than 1/2 of 1%. I don't know how in the world they got to 2%. Somebody's been playing games with you. That's just like them telling, well, black folk poverty rate is only about 26%. Hell, the black poverty rate has been 38% for the last about the last 2 generations. It's over. It's 38%, and about another third of it is sitting almost on the poverty line. They go beneath the poverty line. And that's if they were to lose the little bit of investment they have in their house, their homes, and their cars and automobile, you have 2/3 of the black folk in America be beneath the darn poverty line. And in Detroit right now, if we look at the United States Census right now, you'll find out that in this country, that what you gain in terms of wealth and income is based on how you're perceived by the broader society.
Right.
Black folk are the lowest level of a ranking order of acceptability. That's why the recent survey shows that black folk right now, median family household income is something like about $22,000. But if you go back and look at that same census report that came out this summer.
Yeah, in
look
September.
At that census report.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in September, yes.
That's right. You look at that now, and you'll find out that blacks are on the bottom, not only in income and wealth, but also in educational achievement and everything else. But look right above that, you got the Hispanics. Hispanics started pouring into this country in the 1970s. And they came in here as Hispanics and got double, triple benefits by declaring themselves to be a minority. And being equal to black folk, and shut black folk out. So he started in 1970. Their income, right now, about 92% of all the Hispanics in the United States have been here less than 35 years. Mm-hmm. Their income right now is way over black folks, over 100% higher than blacks. Then you look at whites who are next up. Then you look at the Asians who started coming here in the 1980s, and their income is almost 2.5 times that of black folk. So black folk are not gaining any wealth. You got about 450 to 500 billionaires, multi-billionaires, Michael, in this country that are whites.
Yeah.
That means and black folk, right? That means I got about 3 or 4 white men in America that got more wealth than all 44 million black folk put together.
Right. You got Bill Gates and Larry Ellison.
But you can pick any of them. You can pick any, even the ones that you're not too well aware of. I'm saying you can pick any 2 or 3 of them and add all their wealth together. That's more than 44 million black folk put together. You can't compete in a society when you don't have the wealth to be able to be equal to your percentage of the population, which is almost 13%. You know what? Your income is beneath the lowest people who just arrived in the damn country,
right? And
they haven't been here 35 years now. Higher than you. You look at the number of businesses they got, which is a direct relationship between having wealth and having income and having businesses. Mm-hmm. 1 out of every 10 Asians are in business. That's why they're the highest incoming people in the United States.
Right.
1 out of every 10 Asians in business, 1 out of every 35 whites in business, 1 out of every 54 Hispanics in business, and 1 out of 104 black folks. They have no businesses. You have no way of getting making a sizable change in your wealth because you're being socially engineered to looking for darn jobs. A job will not change your wealth status, Michael.
Oh, absolutely.
The job is designed to maintain you.
And one thing we've seen in the last few years, we've seen black women, they're creating businesses at 6 times the national average, but we do know they're undercapitalized also. You know, we've seen in 2007, 1.9 million businesses we owned. In 2012 was 2.5 million, but we do understand that we have a problem obtaining capital. Let me ask you this question here, and then I want to get into your new book that's coming out also. You have been fighting fighting to enforce the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866. Your wife sent out a press release on September 30th, and blacknews.com picked it up. I talked about it on my show when this press release came out, either that day or the next day. And it dealt with the Obama administration pays $492 million to settle with Indian tribes, but ignored the claims of the Black Indian families. Okay, we're coming up on a break in 2 minutes, but go ahead. What happened with this?
Well, several things happened. First of all, is that Obama has failed. He claims that he was a teacher of constitutional law, and clearly he didn't understand it because he violated the law. The 1866 treaty, which is and a treaty is the highest law of the land. It mandated that Black freedmen and Black Indians and free blacks and their descendants be treated in all manners similar to any so-called Native Americans or white Indians in America.
Right.
That was a mandate. And yet in Obama, for the time he was in office, for those 8 years in office, for 6 or 7 of them, every Christmas, he invited 564 so-called white Indians, or what history called $5 Indians, to the White House, and gave them $3.5 billion every year, every Christmas. But he didn't invite not one single black. But at the same time, he was inviting all these white Indians and $5 Indians into the White House, and it was simply just the descendants of slaveholders.
Right.
People don't know that in proportional comparative terms, Michael, that Indians owned as many slaves proportionally and comparatively as whites did. Slavery could never have existed or originated without the help and participation of Indians. And Indians not only did they support it, but that's why they became known as civilized, because they were told that if you in fact support slavery in this country and help us maintain it, then we will give you certain gifts, and they put it in every treaty. We'll give you clothing, homes, food, and weapons. If you help us, and then that way you help us when a slave runs away, you go recapture him. We'll pay you $20 for every slave you bring. $25 for every slave you bring back to the slave master. And if you can't bring him back, they started a process called scalping. You catch that black person, bring back his hair with his ears attached, we give you $20. And every tribe, all those Indian 5 civilized tribes, the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians, they all signed treaties in 1866 with the United States government, because they all signed on and fought with the South. They fought with the South to maintain slavery. And the last Southern general to give up was Stan Wade. He was the last one to give up for fighting for the South. And so as a result of that, then the government had to send in military troops to all these Indian areas and camps and get them to sign treaty agreements. And in those treaty agreements, they signed that they would turn loose all their slaves and abide by but they lost all of that land because they violated the concepts of the previous treaties. The first one starting in 1516 says that you cannot take arms against this country.
Hey, Doc, we have to take a quick break. We're going to pick it up right there on the other side of the break. Stand by. I'm Michael Imhotep. This is the African History Network show. We're speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson, author of Black Labor, White Wealth, and Powernomics. Weather by Weather Vision. It is cold in Detroit, 20 degrees outside, and it's cloudy. It was some snow flurries on the way in. The African History Network show, The Voice of Detroit. We'll be back in a few minutes.
We are the home of Titan basketball. For all things hoops at the University of Detroit Mercy, look no further than 910.
Hey, welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Voice of Detroit. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network. We're speaking with one of my teachers, Dr. Claud Anderson, author of Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics. You see them in the documentaries Hidden Colors 2 and Out of Darkness. And we're in the documentary Black Friday, What Legacy Will You Leave? We're both in that documentary as well. Visit his website, powernomics.com, powernomics.com. You can order his books there. You can order his DVD lectures. Support this brother. You can also donate to the Harvest Institute as well, powernomics.com. All right, Dr. Anderson, right before the break, you were talking about the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866 and how the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians, how they took up arms against the Union during the Civil War and violated that treaty. Okay, go ahead and continue, brother.
Michael, you got it down pat. Boy, you must have a recorder there.
I do research, man. I first learned about it from you, and I deal with this in some of my presentations. And the Black Freedmen Indian treaties tie into Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because Tulsa, Oklahoma was founded by Creek Indians around 1836. And they took their black slaves into Oklahoma when they got pushed off of their land because of the Indian Removal Act of 1830 in southeastern United States. So this history all ties together.
Right, it does, and see, I'm proud of you. I always have been.
Thank you.
That you got the consciousness to go out and do the research and got the backbone to stand up and fight for it.
Thank you.
That's a double value for black folk. But anyway, the 1866 Indian Treaty, after the Civil War was over, some of the Indians were still holding the Choctaw and Chickasaw Indians, more specifically, were still holding blacks as slaves, and they were holding 12,000, 16,000 blacks in enslavement. And so the United States government had no recourse but to go in there and try to force them to release those blacks, since the 13th Amendment had at least, in quote, freed black folk in America from slavery. And in the agreement, it says that in all manners that black folk should be eligible to all the advantages that the descendants of all any Indians in this country will have.
Right.
And they stipulated and implied in those agreements, those treaties, about 7 or 8 basic things, Michael, for black folk. One is that they're supposed to immediately set all the black slaves free, period. Mm-hmm. 2, that they should give them the option to be able to become a member of the tribe if they wanted to. Point 3, that they should give them 140 acres of land. Point 4, that they should give them $150 each. The government gave the Choctaw Indians almost over $200,000 to split up with those black slaves. Didn't give them a penny.
Right.
Point 5, that they should be able to go to any school, tuition free in the United States. Point 6, that they should be tax exempt, not paying the taxes just like the Indians didn't pay taxes. Mm-hmm. Point 7, they should be able to have access to all the resources on those reservations. I don't care what he's talking about, the timber, the land, the gold, the silver, the chrome, the bauxite, the magnesium, whatever it is. And point 8, that in present-day terms, they should be able to construct and federalize land and to build gambling casinos, that they must be equipped, they must have the same treatment. And here we are in our society, going back to the White House with the Obama administration, rewarding and compensating the descendants of slave-holding Indians while ignoring the descendants of the slaves that those Indians kept in captivity for all those years and mistreated. That is, and every time I would go to the Hill, and even Joanne Watson's and all my friends on the Hill, and I was off the Hill that would come into the country. I was bringing Indians from around the country, black Indians in here, to go up on the Hill and to address this issue with the Congressional Black Caucus. And when they would see me coming, because most of them had been bought off by these white Indians.
Right.
The Congressional Black Caucus men would break out to run and hide in the bathroom, so they wouldn't have. And even when Congresswoman Maxine Waters tried to structure a video presentation with me showing them on video, what black folk were entitled to those treaties, they didn't want to do that. And so anyway,
who is the they? Who's the they that didn't want to do that? Who is that?
Almost everyone on the Congressional Black Caucus except one, and that was Maxine Waters.
Right. Now,
the rest of them they have no conscience and no commitment to do a darn thing to help black folk.
About what year was this, Doc?
Let's go all the way back to 2007.
2007. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to try to put this in perspective.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
So we've been going up on the Hill. So we filed our lawsuits, Michael, and every time I had to go to court, your friend came in 2008 to 2009. And what he would do is that he would send people over from. I would have to fight. Mm-hmm. With sometimes 7 and 8 lawyers for the federal government, in trying to get the benefits that black folk are entitled to, the mandated benefits. The Obama administration would send over maybe 3 or 4 people from the Department of Interior. They would send over a lawyer from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. They sent over a lawyer from the Solicitor General's office. They sent over lawyers from the Department of Commerce. And I had to fight all those with my one-time lawyer, trying to say, all we want you to do is abide by the treaties and carry out the mandates of the law. And every time we go, they would always come up with a different excuse. Every time we knock down one barrier, they'd come up with another one. They start off initially saying, well, doctor, there's a statute of limitation. Yeah, you all should have been entitled to these benefits, but you all should have done something before 1907. And you can't wait this late and say now that you're entitled to them. And the next time they come up with another, well, you got to have standing. Yeah, you just can't come up here and represent black folks that they've screwed over all these years. And so that's why we had to create the Freedmen Federation to take on the course that's fighting for black folk.
The Freedmen's Federation. Okay.
It's called the Freedmen's Federation.
Okay.
But then the other thing about it, finally, about 3 months ago, the lawyers finally said, because we've been beating them one by one, and so they finally called our lawyers and look, I tell you what, I think we should probably talk about the possibility of a settlement.
Okay.
But they said before we can give you a definite commitment on a settlement, we have to go back and talk to our superiors in the Department of Interior and the Department of Justice. And they called back a week later and said, well, we can't do anything because our consideration for a settlement for blacks in the Indian lawsuit was denied by our superiors, which meant the Department of Justice and the White House. Okay. And they said basically they were told that they shouldn't do anything involving giving any form of reparations or reconsiderations for black folk, even though they're going to give it to the Indians. Then they turned right around and invited those same Indians, white Indians, back and gave them as many free radio licenses and television licenses as they wanted without paying one penny for it. And here black folk just can't even afford to buy a radio station or a TV station. And the Indians went in and got all the free ones they wanted. And they are the descendants of slave-holding Indians.
Right.
And here these black folk are the most patriotic, fighting people, the most greatest contributors to the welfare and the development of this nation than any group in this nation. And they under the Obama administration, they didn't get even a minute's worth of time or energy.
Absolutely. So you said it was the Department of Justice, and it was President Obama specifically. It was President Obama specifically who blocked this settlement that happened back in like September of 2016. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah. What's this? This is 16. And what they said to us is that they're superiors, and that's in the Department of Justice. We're totally opposed to it. The only superiors they got. And see, it has to be Department of Justice highest, and they got a black woman there as Attorney General.
Attorney General Loretta Lynch, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, yeah.
Okay, and the other one is the Obama administration. So who else? Whatever, they don't have any other superiors. So it's natural for us to conclude that those are the two that told them don't do anything for black folks. Then.
Okay, now there's an article from blacknews.com has this article. Obama administration pays $492 million to settle with Indian tribes, but ignores claims of black Indian families. Okay. I encourage people to check out this article. Now, I remember back in 2014 when I first interviewed you, and that interview is on YouTube, has been viewed over 12,000 times. You talked about how there was a white U.S. senator that said, Dr. Anderson, you're absolutely correct. Your people deserve this, but you're going about it the wrong way. What did he tell you, and what should we be doing now in 2017 to enforce this?
Well, I had 2 or 3 white senators. Okay. Well, not necessarily white senators, but congressional members. Okay. That came to me and said, the problem is that what you're saying, they're forcing you to get on the wrong track. Mm-hmm. That what you're fighting for, you're absolutely right. It's not a legal issue. They're forcing you to go through the court system and spend all your money and drain your money and your capital away, fighting it, making it, going to court here and going there. They keep finding minuscule reasons and straw issues to keep burning up any funds that you might have to get compensation and reparations for your people. They say the issue is really a political issue, mm-hmm. not a legal issue. Right. They said the reason you're getting very little traction, and you're getting traction, a little bit of traction at a time, is because you don't have any support of your congressional black caucus member or any of the black elected officials in the United States. You don't have any support of your civil rights organizations because they all linked into with the Indians and under the political correctness banner. Because the American Indians had paid off and given money to probably, I would guess, maybe at least a quarter of all the Congressional Black Caucus members, had bought them off lock, stock, and barrel. Mm. And this guy Abraham, I can't think of his last name, that went to jail. Okay. He had all that money, had all that Indian money to giving out Indian money. But anyway, they were bought off. And so they were not going to support anything we do. And to give you an example, one of the congressmen is Congressman Cohen, Steve Cohen, a Jewish congressman out of Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. What he was saying is, Dr. Anderson, you're right. And when I go from here, he come into my office. He says, these congressional people should be listening to what you're saying. And we had one senator, a black senator from Chicago, that was there temporarily, only for 1 year time, an interim senator. I wrote a paragraph to him saying all he has to do is to file this as a bill and file it in the United States Senate.
You talking about Barack Obama?
No, not about Obama.
Oh, okay. Because he was a senator from Illinois, from Chicago. Okay,
from Chicago, yeah.
Okay.
All he had to do was file it, and I wrote it out for him, gave it to his staff, and say all you got to do is have him to go up and file it like other bills. Right. That would have thrown the whole issue on the table for black folk. and he was scared to do that, and he was there only temporarily because the guy who was the previous senator, got kicked out. He was there for temporary reasons, and he still would not file a bill on behalf of black folks.
Right. So let me ask you this, Doc, because we got about 10 minutes left. I don't want to go over my time because your wife is going to send me a butt whooping from Maryland. So what? So
let me tell you, I didn't know she was that tough on you. She knows I got some of those things on my plate.
Exactly. So very quickly now, what? From my understanding, from my conversations with you, we need to make this a political issue as opposed to so much a legal issue. So one of my things is that when you have mass protests, you have Black Lives Matter protests, things like this, that in addition to the signs that they have, they should also have signs talking about enforce the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866 and informing our people about this and organizing to push this agenda just like Hispanics push the immigration agenda. Is that correct?
That's right, but see, our people, even the people like the Black Lives Matter, and just like any other march, 98% of all our marches are for superficial, wheel-spinning, non-frictional, symbolic issues that ain't gonna do a damn thing to better black folks. Mm-hmm. Instead, whenever they have a march, you should ask, what do you plan on marching for? What do you plan? What's your goal? What are you planning on achieving? Right. They never do that. The Million Lives Matter group, they should have said the first thing on our agenda is to carry out the mandates of the 1866 Indian Treaty, or to carry out the treaty of the Adam and Onis Treaty, where all the blacks lost all their land all across North Florida.
What's the name of that treaty?
The Adam and Onis Treaty.
Adam, A-D-A-M?
Yeah, Adam and Onis Treaty. Or to go out and what Anderson talks about in all my things, to receive those reparation funds through the loss for the almost $50 million through the Freedmen Bank's corruption, where federal appointed white administrators and overseers stole $50 million out of the Freedmen banks. In the 10 years, those black slaves put that money into the banks between 1866 and 1876. And nobody's given a penny. The Congressional Black Caucus should have been jumped on that and called for a major investigation for reconsidering that and bringing that money back. And the government should be responsible and liable for appointing people that stole all the money from those black ex-slaves. I can go on all kind of things. But the problem, Michael, let me just throw in this little point too. The only person in Detroit, back to the Detroit point, was Joanne Watson. I'm going to tell you that Joanne Watson was the most active person, the biggest fighter you all had up there, and Kenyatta.
Right.
Yeah, was fighting for it, trying to, and Brenda was, and Rose Collar. Those were the four that was fighting to try to help Detroit. Mm-hmm. All the others was doing the dance of the Sambos on every issue pertaining to black folks. And now most of them are retired, and they walk around the streets. And even the next two mayors you got before that, they sold you all out. And I tried to, along with some other blacks, to get the casino. It was totally illegal for that city to award the 3 casino licenses.
Absolutely.
To non-blacks. And I even met with Indians up in Saginaw, Indian chiefs. And the first thing they asked me, 8 Indian chiefs, they said, Dr. I said, how in the world can you have a mayor in Detroit giving 3 casino licenses to whites in a black city? Mm-hmm. And I said, can you tell us that before we even discuss anything? They said, we're Indians. We're not as smart as you black folks are. Can you tell us how people can come in your city and take over own all the businesses? How can Arabs own all the 92% black city and Arabs own 92% of the businesses? Right. How is it whites can come over and take all 3 casinos? I said, I'm not going to answer that because you don't answer. They said, no, we don't. I said, because we keep relying on some of the silliest, the most people who would never be particularly noted for their intellectual facility and put them in offices of responsibility and authority. I said, that's the problem.
Absolutely. Okay, let me ask you this, Doc. You have a new book coming out. What's the name of the book? What is it about? And when is it coming out?
It's called The Black Reader. It'll be on the stores on the first of March. It'll be in the stores. This is going to be a cutter for you. This is my wrap up, and there'll be one. It's called The Black Reader. 101 questions that you never thought to even ask.
Okay, The Black Reader. 101 questions you never thought to ask. The Black Reader.
Never thought to ask. Okay. It gives you information about things you should know about, but you never asked about. Now, for anybody.
Where can people buy your books? Because we don't want to have to go to Amazon to get the books. Where can people order your books?
Okay, tell me. Go to the computer and go to Powernomics.com and order the books off of Powernomics.com. That helps us a lot because right now, even though Amazon rated 2 weeks ago out of the millions and millions and millions of books they sell in this country around the world, that my books come in as number 3 bestseller. Okay, and out of the millions upon millions they sell. And but what happens is most of that money goes straight to Amazon and they go to us.
Right, exactly.
So tell them to go to powernomics.com and order the books.
Powernomics.com. Absolutely. Yeah. All of his books are there. His DVD lectures are there. He has a DVD lecture on the Black Freedman Indian Treaties of 1866 because I ordered 4 of his DVDs at one time, and that's how I learned a lot about the Black Freedman Indian Treaties and from talking to him also. Okay, Doc. Now, so support this brother, and you can donate to the Harvest Institute through their website as well. Okay, be sure.
That's right.
Go ahead, brother. Be sure and donate and support Dr. Anderson. Go ahead quickly.
Michael, and answer your original question, the first question you asked me when you came on the air with you tonight, I got a major plan that'll be kicked off. This is the year. 2017 is the year for blackness across this country.
Okay.
And Donald Trump did us a big favor. He pulled the sheets off the Democratic Party and all the liberal establishment that keeps equating gays, midgets, and Arabs and Asians, everybody to black folk. The black folk are exceptional people, and there's an agenda that I got laid out, a big plan, and we're going to move across this country. And I got a whole bunch of people lined up. I have millions of people that followers getting ready to move on this coming year.
Okay.
It's based on exceptionality of black folk, and you're going to be hearing about it.
Okay. I will contact you this week, so you and I can have a private conversation about it if you don't mind, so I can get more information. And
okay.
I do 2 radio shows, so whenever you're ready to come back on, we can do it. But I want to have a private conversation about you, see how myself and Dave Anderson is here in the studio also. I'm about to bring him on.
Tell Dave I said hi. I know now he's doing well. He's forgotten about poor blacks like me.
I'm about to bring Dave Anderson on next, so we definitely want to help you with this as well. Very quickly here. You and I, we've talked about the immigration issue as well in this country. Well, undocumented immigrants. Let me put it like that: undocumented immigrants, and not to try to not from a perspective of trying to demonize people and saying this is the reason why, because Hispanics. Donald Trump is using Hispanics as oftentimes a scapegoat, okay, and not dealing with other ramifications, not dealing with other factors, but. How do undocumented immigrants negatively impact black Americans?
Well, all immigrants impact Americans. But see, the question is, haven't you noticed, Michael, not one single person, black or white, has mentioned the fact of basic social economics or basic physics, which means for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Right.
Why would you continue to bring in all these people on this, saying how positive it is, but you never talk about the bad downsides of it? Immigration has always been anti-black. The first immigration laws were set up in 1789 and ratified in 1790.
Right.
It was a naturalization immigration law.
When the first Congress met, when the first Congress convened, yes.
That's right. So in 1790, this is a nation of immigrants. And then they set up with what Obama kept bragging about, called the American Dream. The American Dream is made up of 2 factors. One is made up of free Indian land and free black labor. That's the American dream, which means anybody can come here except black folk. There's a 0 quota on black folk. That's why you can't get Haitians into the country. And they will let more than 1/2 or 1% of anything coming in from Africa come into America, because they want to guarantee that black folk will be a permanent underclass of minorities in the society. And that's why so immigration has always been a negative. It was a negative for black folk by every leader up until the 1960 movement. Up until that time, all of a sudden, the black civil rights movement switched over and started blessing and condoning and approving immigrants coming to this country. They never one time says, what's the downside of these people coming into the country and displacing black folk?
Right.
And see, for every, I can't give you the numbers anymore. I can't give you the exact figures. But for the progress that we made social economically in the society from about 1965 to 1975. We went from where we were earning about 50% on the dollar for every for a white person.
Right.
It went up to about 65 cents by 1965. When they started bringing in these Hispanics, Arabs, and Asians into the country, we went back to where we were before that. That's why in 1950, a black person with a college education could not make as much as a white high school dropout. That's why you got to look at the United States Census to see that we are the lowest. We got the lowest household income in the country because of that. And that's why every Arab coming in Detroit, every Hispanic, every immigrant coming to Detroit is going to go past black folk in Detroit at 200 miles an hour. Those blacks will be in the same exact place as I said earlier, that where they were in 1910. They're not going to move. They can't go any place. And one of the biggest reasons, because they don't own and control anything. They keep fooling around with civil rights and social integration. They're being bamboozled by the black leadership. You cannot compete in a society. That's why in this country, the biggest wealth producing thing is land. Land. That's why I told them in Detroit, land. And so, so in 1790, when they set up the social construct based on minorities, not on minorities, but on immigrants coming to the country, the first thing they do, they say the wealth will be created by the land. So George Washington says, give me 100,000 acres. He got 100,000 acres of free land.
Hey, Doc.
Thomas Jefferson, huh?
Hey, Doc. Hey, Doc. You got like a few more minutes. We coming up on the break. We come back from the break at the top of the hour. You got like 5 more minutes.
Yeah. Well, I'll finish that statement.
Yeah. I want you to finish that statement. Okay, stand by. Hey, you listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the voice of Detroit. I'm Michael Imhotep. We're speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson, author of Black Label, White Wealth. We'll be back in a few minutes. Claud Anderson. Hey, Dr. Anderson, go ahead and finish your thoughts with about George Washington.
Yeah, okay. And the important thing about that, let me preface that by simply saying that it's extremely important for black folk to understand that it's what you own and control that will determine your future, your future quality of life. And in this society, as I said, black folk own and control 1/2 or 1% of the wealth of this nation. That's exactly where they were in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War.
Right.
Contrary to what anybody tells you, Michael, the all BS, and the wealth in this country for black folk is not increasing, it's decreasing and staying constant. Now, and see, and the most of the wealth and the wealth that whites are bearing right now is coming from what they got originally from that 1790 immigration law.
Right.
You see, at that time, that's when George Washington said we're going to integrate and we're going to set up a policy, which you all now call the American Dream, and bring immigrants into this country. They're going to come in here over black folk. They're federalized over black folk. No immigrants are coming in this country to get along with black folk. There are no incentives and rewards for getting along with black folk. They're coming here not to get along with black folk, but to get over black folk. So George Washington Carver immediately asked for 100,000 acres of free land. Thomas Jefferson got 100,000 acres of free land. Patrick Henry that says, give me liberty, give me death, he got 65,000 acres of free land. Every white person coming to the United States through the homesteading laws could get 650 acres of free land. For every slave he picked up and put on that land, he could get another 150 acres of free land.
Right.
And that's why when the last land rush that came in the 1880s, and going across the Mississippi River, that major land rush going into the west, that in a 24-hour period, they picked up over 2 million acres of free land in 24 hours. That's why you see all these big, large ranches and farms out there. These white folks got on with cattle farms. The time when they got 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 acres of free land. They didn't pay for that land. They all got it free. Now whites got the wealth locked in box, and they got it locked in because, on the other hand, black folk could not get 1 acre of free land. And white folk wound up by the end of the last land rush in this country, whites wound up with 1 billion with a B, B-I-L-L-I-N. They wound up with 1 billion acres of free land, and that land has multiplied, doubled, and tripled in value every 20 years. That's where the wealth is. It's all locked inside of the white society.
Okay.
Not only locked into the society, but it's locked into the land. They picked up all the wealth in that land, not only in the price of the land per acre, but also in the fact that all the gold, the silver, the chrome, the oil, the gas, everything, the timber on that land is high value. That's why whites right now own and control that almost 99%, 98% of all the wealth in the nation. 87% of it is frozen, locked into the white society in stocks and bonds and the trust accounts and insurance proceeds that moves from one generation to the next. An inheritance. It passes on from generation to generation.
Correct.
Blacks are playing against a stacked deck, and they learn how to get some wealth and power. That's why I'm very upset with Detroit. When Detroit had a chance to rebuild themselves and held on to that land in Detroit, they were so inclined to see whites coming back. Right now, probably half your list is so tickle and pink that whites are now moving back to the city and rebuilding the city. They're bringing back all the land, the money, and value they took out in white flight in the 1950s and 1960s when they moved out of Detroit to the suburbs. Detroit's boundary was 8 Mile Road. There was nothing but woods across the 8 Mile Road at that time. White flight says, when black folk want to integrate, let's build expressways throughout the city of Detroit and drive expressways through everything that looks like it'd be a black business district and move to the suburbs and take out everything of value. They took out all the factories, the buildings, the shops. They took the banks. They took the wealthy class. They took everything of value, moved it to the suburbs. And now that black folk the city has become defunct, they're going to come back and bring back their wealth. And every black you see on TV goes, "Oh, sure, I'm glad they're coming back."
Right. The white savior complex. It's the white savior complex, Doc.
That's right. You got it down, Michael. And instead of saying, well, if you were to go ahead, if you were to acquire wealth and power, it wouldn't be necessary for whites to come back.
Right.
And that's why I told him my plan. I told him for blacks should be taken, put all the land in Detroit, establish land through the churches so they can control the land. And they could not come back and gentrify the land and privatize everything. Now they're going to privatize and own everything in Detroit.
Right.
And everything I put that plan, they're taking, huh?
Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
They're using everything that I put in that plan for blacks to use. They're going to use it to enrich whites coming back to the city. And the same thing happened when in the summer. And you need to go look at the summer newsletter of 2012, where I wrote this long newsletter to Obama that went all over the country. It's about a 19 or 20-page newsletter showing Obama how to enrich this country for blacks and help black folks. And I spelled out exactly what he needs to do. And I said, in this country, these are the things that any person who becomes an independent can run for office and win. Donald Trump picked that up. Donald Trump's entire campaign was run strictly and solely off of what he took off my newsletter. His whole 4 issues, his playbook, Michael, was designed by people I know. They designed his playbook to run for office as an independent based on my newsletter I sent to Obama back in the summer of 2012. You can go to the Harvest Institute .org and pull out that newsletter for the summer. Go to the link where it says newsletter and pull out the newsletter. That's everything that's right. Trump read from that. He capitalized on that, and he used that to become the president of the United States. And Obama could have done some of those things for black folks, but he preferred not to. And yet he's going around bragging about he's going to be the president of all the people. That was a tale. You cannot be president of all the people unless you take care of black folk. Black folk are people. He didn't do a darn thing for black folk.
Okay. Now, Doc, very quickly here. Okay, he has 2 websites, powernomics.com, and harvestinstitute.org, HARVEST. Harvestinstitute.org. He has also information about the Black Freedmen Indian Treaties of 1866. Lastly, Doc, you have an online course that people can go through at their own speed. You have an online course. Quickly, tell people about that. How can they purchase the course? Well,
I'm not too familiar with it. I know, the office is running it.
Okay.
And I haven't been too much involved. But what I'm working on now is I got a webinar that's coming up sometime this spring.
Okay.
And it's a deep programming. It's set up to do some things I learned in the Marine Corps. Again, as a Marine, we had training programs to deprogram brainwashed prisoners coming out of Korea. As I was in the service, they were doing both the Korean and the Vietnam War.
Okay.
We had over 7,000 POWs in prisons and POW camps in North Korea and in China, and they were in captivity for 3 years. They were programmed what later they call turncoats, and the Chinese brainwashed them. But see, the same thing in these seminars, I'm going to be showing you the similarities of how you deprogram black folk. We have a place in Barbers Point, Hawaii, for deprogramming brainwashed people. So everything you hear me say and talk about is coming from those experiences that I had in the Marine Corps as a flight safety engineer for my squadron, and as a pilot. I don't fly anymore, but in marine aviation. But right now we have a webinar showing black folk how to register for this course, and webinars to take them through a deep programming system for being able to learn what the issues are and how to be able to compete and become a self-sufficient, independent, competitive people in this country economically with whites, Asians, Arabs, Hispanics, midgets, gays, transsexuals, people with hemorrhoids and toenail infections.
Right. And lastly, he has a 4-book special right now. You get all 4 books, Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, Dirty Little Secrets About Black History, Volume 1 and 2. You get all 4 books for $70 at powernomics.com, and then also powernomics.tv is a online course that's available at powernomics.com. Powernomics and Politics, using group strength for power. It's a $500 value. It's on sale right now, only $125. They have the information right on the homepage of powernomics.com. Take advantage of this also. Go ahead.
You want me to give them the telephone number they want to call?
Go ahead, Doc. Absolutely. Give them whatever you want.
They can call the office here in Washington, D.C. They can call it 301-564-6075. That's the Powernomics Corporation of America. That number again is 301-564-6075. And we give any information pertaining to the books or the DVDs, anything else. And also they can call that same number and make contact with the Harvest Institute and make pledges by going to the PayPal for Harvest Institute or buy the books through PayPal for Powernomics, okay?
Absolutely. And that treaty Adam Onis, ADAMS hyphen ONIS treaty. Adam Onis Treaty of 1819. Google that. Dr. Anderson, you have a great night. Tell your wife I said hello as well, okay?
And thank you. And do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
You just stay the strong, conscious black man I've known you to be all these years.
Thank you, brother. You too, man.
You're a rarity. You're a rarity, boy.
Thank you.
You hang in there.
All right, Doc. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thank you, buddy. And have a good evening now.
All right, you too, man. Thanks. All right, that's one of my teachers, Dr. Claud Anderson, author of Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics. He's in the documentaries Hidden Colors, 2, The Triumph of Melanin Out of Darkness from director Amadeus Christ. He and I and Dave Anderson, who's here with me, we're all in the documentary Black Friday, What Legacy Will You Leave? And also Black Friday, the remix. So in here.